Yeah, the extremist issue is an interesting one. You know, there's a lot of countries around the world that use proportional representation. There's only a few that use first past the post. And there are problems with extremism around the world, but those aren't restricted to just countries that use proportional representation. We've seen in the United States, you know, Donald Trump got elected, a small group of extremists managed to take over one of the large parties, and now we have one of these anti-immigrant, anti-trade parties taking over. We had another country that used first past the post, the United Kingdom. You know, they had a referendum where they voted for Brexit. So extremism isn't really bound by what electoral system you have. I like to say, you know, if you are electing extremists, you have an extremism problem, and that has not a voting problem. That has more to do with socioeconomic factors that are happening around the world or in those countries. And so, to me, the question really is, how do we best deal with socioeconomic problems? What we want to do is have a system where everyone is represented, and moreover, everyone feels represented. So you don't get this sort of populism bubbling up from underground, where people feel like the politicians are elites that don't listen to them, and they have no choice but to vote for somebody extreme who is then going to take more than their fair share of the seats. If you see in proportional systems situations where extreme parties do take a share of the seats, for instance in Sweden, recently they take 20%, that limits their participation to that 20%. We've seen in Sweden, you know, the other major parties decided that they wouldn't work with that extreme party. And so it's not that they suddenly took control. Whereas if they were part of a larger party and they won a majority, then all of a sudden they would be, you know, they'd have an outsized measure of control under a first past the post system. So I think when you're hearing these arguments from the no side that if you boil it down, what they're saying is, if you give people a real choice of who to vote for, and you make their vote matter, what people in British Columbia will really want to vote for is Nazis. Well, I have more faith in them than people in British Columbia, and I have faith that the existing political parties would be able to run and beat Nazis in a fair election.